The Dell Dimension, the clamshell case desktop that everyone and their grandma had in the early 2000s. A completely plastic-clad tank of a PC that sold like crazy. This model is the Dimension 8200 from 2002, featuring a Pentium 4 processor and an AGP slot. It is about to become a retro gaming PC. Guys, welcome back. I'm finally getting into this Dell Dimension 8200 here, and like I said, I don't know if this thing works or not. The way things are going today, it probably won't. I spent the entire day on two socket A systems, AMD stuff that, one will work with one CPU, not with another, and they're just so buggy, they're just pissing me off. So I put those away for now, and that will have to wait for another time. But I'm curious to see what's junk about this. So we got the CRT hooked up to it here, keyboard and mouse. Hit the power button. I hear it coming to life. And I'll be damned, the fucking thing works. Alright, well, maybe this is the issue with it here. Alright, let's take a closer look in here. It's nice that all four slots are populated. I don't know how big each of these sticks is here, but I believe this is RDRAM because it's got a heat sink on one side. And yep, you can tell by the two notches there. So 250 megabytes. This thing's got 1 gig of RAM in it, which ain't too shabby. Let's I wonder if maybe that battery might be an issue. Let's just whip in a replacement and see. Alright, so I waited out the IDE setup for a while, and you see we got a Pentium 4 2.26. Obviously the time and date are way wrong because I changed the battery. Gig of RAM. There's really not a whole lot in the setup page here at all. But I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna get everything set on here, and we'll see what happens here. Alright, and it's actually loading Windows XP. I couldn't change any of the system time or anything because there's a password on the BIOS is protected with a password, so I'm sure there's a jumper on here to clear that. I just gotta find it. And there we go. Windows XP. Alright, actually looks like a fresh install too. Alright, so it's a 64 megabyte GeForce 4 MX 420 Dell branded card, of course. And another thing I noticed is sound card is a Sound Blaster Live, although I believe it's a Dell, made for Dell as well, because it's got this connector on it right here that goes to the front panel header. So what I think I'm going to do, being that this has a Pentium 4 in it, I think I'm going to go through and pull out my Pentium 4s and see what the best one I have that will fit in the socket is. And also, I got a card that we can throw in this slot, right in this AGP slot here too. So let's see what we can do with it. Alright, on the right is a CPU that came out of it. This is the 2.26 gigahertz, 533 megahertz front side bus Northwood. We have another Northwood here, 2.8 gigahertz, 512 cache, 533 megahertz front side bus. So this is the one that we're going with right here. And for a GPU, we're going to try this one I just picked up for the fucking socket A systems that I've been dicking with. This is a the sticker's gone, but this is a Radeon X1600 Pro 512 meg card. Alright, the 2.8 socket 478 Northwood is in. The X1600 Pro is installed, and I did have to steal the power from the floppy drive for it because this only has one of these connectors that I can see. And yeah, we'll close up, and I haven't really cleaned it out yet. It's not too bad. I mean, it's dirtier on the outside if you look, like down in there. But I just want to see if this thing's going to work and what it's going to do, and then I'll determine if I want to clean it out really good. Alright, this is really quite impressive the way this thing will open up. I mean, you can actually open it 90 degrees on there, and I'm surprised this didn't really catch on more, but yeah, it is what it is. There's one of those things that died out. I see they give you a lot of extra parts so you can add extra drives, and there's even a couple more tucked in here. But yeah, this thing did well, surprisingly well, with the X1600 Pro and a 2.8 gigahertz along with the 1 gig of RDRAM. You can check out the benchmarks here in a little bit, but for now, since it works so well, I'm going to actually strip this whole thing down, get everything nice and clean, and then put it back together. So we'll check in when it's done. Okay, so this is interesting. There was a total of 4 screws, or the hex head screws, that were holding this motherboard down, right? But it seems to be stuck right here at the socket, right? And these clips, I tried to, a little bit to pop them up, but then I noticed there's this little green tab right here with a screw right there. And there's an arrow pointing at that screw. So I'm thinking this whole motherboard, once you take those other 4 screws out, I don't even know if they had to come out or not, but take this screw out and this whole thing should slide right out on a tray. Yep, lift this little green tab and pull back, and then the whole motherboard comes loose. Look at that. That's interesting. Never seen that before. Alright, I hope you guys don't ever do anything as stupid as I just did. I shouldn't really say that because, I mean, it's off, nothing ended up broken, but what a tedious pain in the ass. I mean, all these plastic panels, they have to come off in a certain order, and there's little, like, hidden clips that lock everything in. Like, there's a little clip in the plastic that would hook here and here, and you can't remove that until you, push those clips in while pulling down. But then there's also other parts that go around that have to come off before it. It's just a pain in the ass. But one good thing is, I got it off. You can see all this dust that's here. I mean, look how dirty I am now just from taking this apart. But yeah, I can get all this dust cleaned off now. One other interesting thing. I'm just going to look at one of the side panels here. This is like the shape of just one of them. And there's also, the top piece, the bottom piece and shit. But that little plastic Dell badge in the middle there, all big. I mean, it takes up a big chunk of the side panel. If you wanted to do some modding, that thing right there, you push that little black tab, you bend it up, just so that little gray tab clears that, and then you can see these are clocked. You just rotate it, from looking at the back, you rotate it clockwise a little bit, and then that whole thing will pop off. And then you could possibilities are endless at that point. I'm not doing any modding on this case. I just want to get it cleaned up and put back together. But yeah, I just makes me want to go online and look and see if anybody's actually modded one of these, just out of curiosity what they did. Like I said, I'm not doing any modding. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to put it right back together the way I found it, only cleaner. All right, we're getting there. Got some cable management done, which this really isn't too bad. I mean, you got these are cardboard or paper. But it does keep your wires your cables sort of in line. Got our cards in, the CPU's back in, the heatsink and the fan are in. Just have to get the memory installed here, and you can see this RDRAM. If you look on there, it says warning, hot surface. This does have a heatsink on one side of it, like I think all RDRAM actually does, and probably because it's a much faster speed. It's higher latency, but it's faster speed, and I think that's what that 840 is. I think that's the speed and the latency. But yeah, they do get quite warm, and it's nice that these are pretty expensive, and it's nice that there's at least 4 of them in here, so we have a gig of RAM. That definitely helps. Still got the power supply to clean up and put in, but other than that, everything else is pretty much done on here. You can see how much cleaner this looks on the inside now. Alright, so check it out. Nice and clean, shiny. Thing looks almost like new, aside from, you got your occasional little scratches on it. Looks like there's like a worn spot up here. A few scratches along the back, and a couple little scratches on the side here. But I mean, this thing is from 2002, so you're talking 18 years ago. This thing was made. That's been, probably running almost that entire time, so it's pretty good. And the upgrade did decent on it as well. Let me show you what we got going on here on the screen. You see, we're on our 17-inch CRT, 1280 by 1024, and we've got, what do we got going on here for settings on this? And you can see textures are very high, everything else is medium and high, and yeah, currently we're doing pretty good. You can see we're well above 30 FPS sitting here, looking out over the water with all the vegetation. So the CPU is of course at 100%. The CPU is going to be the bottleneck on this system since the GPU is considerably newer. But that's still pretty impressive. I mean, we turned this, this generic desktop here that most likely was made for, an office or school or something like that, and turned it into a little retro gaming PC. So that's very, very cool.
Hold up! Hey! Stop that sumbitch! Yeah. Watch it!
Yeah, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye. Ah, my old love.
They will remember.
Flashlight! Target sighted! SWAT, get to cover! Close in! Take him down!
Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
So who remembers Winamp? You know you haven't really finished your Windows XP install until you install Winamp. I mean, that llama's ass isn't going to kick itself. But anywho, I think this is a success. I mean, this old Dell cleaned up quite well. And it's got that early 2000s look that you remember from the commercials. And it is a pretty decent gamer. I realize the CPU is a bit of a bottleneck, you know, but it is what it is. Paired with the X1600 Pro, I think it'll get you by for those early to mid 2000s games. Alright guys, y'all stay safe out there with the business that's going on in the world, and I will catch you on the next one.